For time immemorial, religious minorities have been discriminated against. Often starting from the religion's creation, those who practice it have been brutally dispatched. The focus of this film will be on two of the most notoriously discriminated religions, Judaism and Islam. In the Hellenistic age, 1st century CEE, those who practiced Judaism's social segregation and blatant refusal to acknowledge the accepted gods of the time gave pagans resentment towards them. The Jewish people's monotheistic beliefs, alongside their refusal to view emperors as gods, were viewed by pagans as a sign of disloyalty. The vast spread of Christianity eventually led to Jews being regarded as alien people, who, because of their rejection of the Catholic Church's teachings, were condemned to perpetual migration, as displayed in the legend of the Wandering Jew. About the doorkeeper for Pontius Pilate, the man who executed Jesus, condemned to live until the end of the world for striking Jesus on his way to Calvary. The most famous Jewish person, Jesus Christ, was killed due to being deemed as a political threat by the Roman authority. Christian hostility towards Jews was evident in the Christian concept of contempt. Some of the most prominent Christian theologians, such as St. Augustine and Martin Luther, preached that Jews were companions of the devil and a race of vipers. In medieval Europe, Jews were denied citizenship and the rights that came with it. They were denied any positions in the government and the military, as well as membership to any guilds or professions. Some European societies and rulers, especially in the early Middle Ages, gave the Jews a degree of tolerance, but this was not often. When the First Crusade occurred in 1096, it unleashed a massive wave of anti-Semitic violence in Europe. There were numerous massacres, including massacres in Worms, Trier, and Metz. In the 12th century, Jews were accused of ritual murder, host desecration, and blood libel, which is the allegation that Jews sacrificed Christian children at Passover to obtain blood for unleavened bread. The first example of this is the murder of William of Norwich in England, in which an English boy who regularly visited Jews as part of his job as a tanner, and whose real murderer was never found. In the late Middle Ages, some Jews became prominent in trade, banking, and moneylending, leading to many countries forcibly expelling the Jews. Notable places of expulsion were England in 1290, France in the 14th century, Germany in the 1450s, Portugal in 1496, Provence in 1512, and the Papal States in 1569. The most intense persecution of Jews in medieval time was the Spanish Inquisition of 1492. The Spanish expelled their long-established and exceptionally large Jewish population. The only Jews allowed to stay were those that converted to Christianity, and those suspected of still practicing Judaism faced persecution in the Spanish Inquisition. This mass expulsion led to a mass migration of the Jewish population from Germany and Western Europe towards Turkey, and then to Poland and Russia. However, where they were needed, they were permitted to live. Jews performed economic functions that were vital to trade and commerce and excelled in those areas. These periodic persecutions of Jews continued up until the late 18th century. When the Enlightenment occurred, Christians' opinions on Jews changed, at least in the West. Although the light of reason found in the debunking of old Christian superstitions was championed, this did not change the Christians' views of the Jews for the most part. After the First World War, anti-Semitic tensions began to rise. In Germany, fascist politician Adolf Hitler blamed the Jews for his nation's defeat at the hands of the Triple Alliance. These anti-Semitic ideals spread throughout the world. Examples of other anti-Semitic parties during Hitler's time include the Kagoulards of France, the Hungarian Arrow Cross, the British Union of Fascists, and the German-American Bund and Silver Shorts of the United States. As he came to power, Hitler slowly began to ease the Jews out of basic human rights. The anti-Semitic ideology of the Nazis reached a racial dimension hitherto undreamt of. Throughout history, Christians have desired to convert the Jews and rulers and politicians have desired to expel the Jews. The Nazis viewed the Jews as a subhuman race and as a cancer that would destroy the German people. The Jews were a very small minority in Germany, being less than 0.75% of the population. There was legislation against the Jews on every conceivable level, be it Reich, state, or municipal. There were hundreds of laws, decrees, regulations, guidelines and directives that specifically targeted Jewish people and their rights. These laws spanned far and wide, covering every aspect of a Jewish person's life, with more than 400 decrees and regulations alone. Some of the most notable laws passed by Nazi Germany targeting the Jews were the law for the restoration of the professional civil service, which removes Jews from government service, further isolating them from society, was passed on April 7, 1933. On the same day, the German government passed the law on the admission to the legal profession, which prevented Jews from being admitted to the bar. On July 14, 1933, the denaturalization law was passed, which revoked the citizenship of naturalized Jews and undesirables and on the 12th of November 1938, the German government issued the decree on the elimination of the Jews from economic life, which barred Jewish people from operating sales agencies, retail stores, and from carrying on a trade. This law also forbade Jews from selling goods or services at an establishment of any form. Jewish people were also required to register all of their foreign and domestic property and assets. The Jews were no longer able to provide for their families at a sustainable level. On April 25, 1933, the government of Germany issued the law against overcrowding in schools and universities. This drastically limited the number of Jewish students attending public schools. On 9 November 1938, Germans began targeting various synagogues. Archives and valuables were seized, and many religious artifacts were destroyed. This was known as Kristallnacht. The most notable atrocity dealt unto the Jews was their deportation to concentration camps. When captured, Jews would be sorted into two groups, those who could work and those who could not. Those who could work were forced to be slave labor, working to make munitions, synthetic rubber, and other products deemed as essentials to the Nazi war effort. Some of them would die from overwork, disease, insufficient nutrition, or the mere struggle to survive in brutal living conditions. Torture, retribution, and arbitrary executions happened daily in front of the other prisoners. Those who were unable to work would immediately be sent to bathhouses to be gassed to death with Zyklon B poison gas. Those who were gassed were never registered as inmates to the camps, and so the true death toll is impossible to calculate. Several prisoners, including children, would be subject to inhumane medical experimentation. To study eye color, one doctor would inject a serum into children's eyeballs. The same doctor also injected chloroform into the hearts of twins to see if they would die at the same time and manner. An estimated 5.7 million Jews were killed in concentration camps. After the Second World War, anti-Semitism would continue, albeit on a significantly smaller scale. Most in the West were too embarrassed to express these feelings. The USSR continued to purge the Jews under Stalin's rule, but this ended with his death on March 5, 1953. Under the leadership of St. John, the 23rd, the Roman Catholic Church accepted Judaism's legitimacy and exonerated the Jews for the death of Jesus by universalizing responsibility for his crucifixion. The mass immigration of Jews to Israel led to newfound anti-Semitic tensions between the State of Israel and the Middle East. While this was primarily anti-Zionist, anti-Semitism exists to this day. A more recent example of anti-Semitism was on May 4, 2022, when German airliner Lufthansa refused to let a large group of Orthodox Jews go onto a flight due to a few of them not adhering to the flight's mask policy. They did not bar specific people from entering the flight, they decided that anyone who looked Jewish was to be barred from flying. The airline apologized on the 10th of May. While anti-Semitism may be a low point in today's world, Islamophobia is still a very present issue in society today. Muslims were fairly low in numbers outside of the Middle East before the British Empire's expansion. During the Crusades, Christian holy soldiers killed tens of thousands of Muslim innocents, even resorting to cannibalism, before the Muslims could mount a proper offensive. According to Muslim sources, the Crusaders had fairly good relations with the Muslims. There were innumerable military and political alliances, systematic sharing of holy sites, commercial dealings, and exchanging science and ideas. Islamophobia remained fairly under the radar after the Crusades, until the attacks on September 11, when that all changed. In response to al-Qaeda's attack on the Twin Towers, mosques were burnt down or destroyed and death threats and harassment followed many Muslims. Some victims of Islamophobia in the weeks after 9/11 were beaten, attacked, or held at gunpoint for simply being perceived as Muslim. Research has shown that the United States identified more than 160 Muslim American terrorist suspects and perpetrators in the decades since 9/11. This is a small percentage of the thousands of violent acts that occur in the U.S. each year. In fact, 2 out of 5 al-Qaeda terrorist plots are thwarted with the aid of Muslim Americans. Islam is one of the religions most affected by secularist legislature. Islamophobia is also present in Europe. The leading party of the Swiss government put to referendum a ban on minaret, the towers of mosques, construction, citing harm to the nation's image. Islamophobia in Canada is more racially motivated than religiously, due to people who seem Muslim due to their clothing and appearance being at a greater risk of being assaulted. According to the FBI, hate crimes targeting Muslims rose a whopping 1,617% from 2000 to 2001. As the years passed, the number of hate crimes dropped, and then rose in more recent years. Muslims began to feel unsure of their placement in American society. Islamophobia was even used as an attempted tool against Barack Obama in his presidential elections, with conspiracy theorists believing that he is a closeted Muslim. During the 2016 election cycle, hate crimes against Muslims had another surge. In 2016 alone, there was 307 hate crimes reported by the FBI Muslim-targeted. Donald Trump proposed a travel ban on Muslims during his first electoral run. He somewhat succeeded in this, having banned immigrants from several Muslim-majority countries with an executive order. This was legally challenged until the Supreme Court upheld an amended variation of this that affected people from Muslims majority nations such as Yemen, Syria, Libya, Somalia, and Iran. From its inception to current United States President Joe Biden's ending of the ban, more than 40,000 people were refused visas due to the executive order. In 2018, Quebec passed the act respecting the laicity of the state. This act forbade certain state employees from wearing religious symbols while on duty. Some of these jobs include judges, law enforcement, officers, and teachers. While heavily supported by the provincial public, many say that this discriminates against the Jewish and Muslim populations. On June 6, 2021, a Pakistani-Canadian family out on a stroll was intentionally run over by a speeding truck. The victims, the Afzal family, all died from the incident with the exception of their youngest, a 9-year-old boy who was hospitalized with serious injuries. The boy's family consisted of his parents, his 15-year-old sister, and his grandmother. One must hope never to repeat these actions again. As long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those who won't accept what can be.